thank you all for coming out. It's now a little after 6, and we're going, time for our regular scheduled board meeting. Tonight, I've asked Ronnie Richardson to open us with the invocation and the pledge. Before he does, just keep Commissioner Sessions in mind and prayer. His wife's been sick, and she had surgery today, and they're keeping her overnight. That's why he's not in attendance. So other than that, he would have been here. Y'all would all stand.
Pray. Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, we can come out and take care of the business of the county, Lord, and consider the issues that are before this community. Pray that you would give us wisdom as we make decisions, Lord. Make them the best of our ability for the best of our constituents and for the glory of you, for your glory. Lord, we do keep in mind the Sessions and the needs she has, and that you bring healing to her body. We pray for Ivy Fowler and his family, Lord, as they deal with the loss of his wife. Lord, we know there are needs all around us. We just pray that you would meet those needs according to your will. We pray for our first responders, our military, those who always put their lives on the line for others. We pray, God, that you would keep them safe. Thank you for all that you're going to do. Bless according to your will. In Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item on the agenda is approval of minutes, October 2nd, 2018, regular scheduled board meeting. Is there any changes, corrections, or anything y'all wish to have added?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Fleming. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 2 through 17. Going to pull 17 for some discussion. Any others wishing to be pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can we pull number 9? I just want to have clarification on this.
Any others? Okay, so need a motion to approve 2 through 8, 10 through 16.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Number 9, approval of changes purchasing policy and adoption of enabling resolution. Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify for the public that these are minor changes that deal with just simply things that are coming up that don't involve any more purchasing power than the county administrator already has. It's just to clarify some of these things that can't be helped. Could you speak to that, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, the proposed changes do not change the purchasing limits that are currently established in our policy. It takes care of some unique circumstances that we have to deal with from time to time. An example of that would be when there's no known competition that can meet a specification that we have for a specific part. Let's just say a Caterpillar engine. We need a part for a Caterpillar engine. We can't get it from someone else. It's standardized. And under your current policy, it says that when we're procuring services, that we have to get 2 quotes or 3 quotes depending on the dollar amount. Well, we can't get the additional quotes because there's no one else that can provide that part. These minor changes address issues like that we run into on a regular basis throughout the year. We might need this particular change 4 or 5 times a year, but when you need it, you need it. You can't wait around. That's the essence.
Is that what standardization, is that what you're
That's
talking
one
about when
of
you're
them.
talking about standardization? Okay. That's the only question that I had there about that. It's like,
All right, any other questions?
move to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson.
Second.
Second. Second by Commissioner Fleming. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 17, approval of a task order with Robbie and Associates for renewal of landfill permit. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, pulled that because there are two task orders in there. What I'm requesting is that we remove and do not consider task order number 1, but I do request that you approve task order number 2. This has to do with renewal of the landfill permits. Task order number 1 was a proposal that we had discussed with Mr. Darabi regarding an effort to do away with the continuation of quarterly reports and testing and permit renewals on the landfill because of the data that we have had for a number of years. And Mr. Darabi spoke to DEP about that, and that was going to be quite a process to package all of that. But when he spoke to DEP about it, they indicated that very likely they weren't going to agree to that right now. So we're going to continue doing business as usual, so we're going to drop that task order.
All right.
And again, that task order that we're dropping is task order number 1, and I'm asking you to go ahead and approve the standard one, which was the 5-year permit renewal, which is task order number 2.
Any questions?
I don't have any.
We'll have a motion to approve task order number 2.
Motion approved.
We've got a
Second.
motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any discussion? There are none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to item 18, adoption of a resolution proclaiming the week of October 21st through the 27th, 2018, Working Forest Week. Mr. Paul Williams, want to make a presentation?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Councilman, if we could I have the resolution, then I will read it into the record, or would you like to, sir?
You can read it.
Okay.
You'd like a copy of it? You got one, right?
I read it, you can have mine.
I got it right here. Thanks, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the public. Of course, Mr. Chairman, City of Live Oak is honored to have you all here tonight, as that is another part of the community that I do assist. But I'm very happy to be here before the county commissioners to discuss Working Forest Week in Florida. If I might, I will read the resolution into the record, designating the week of October 21st through the 27th, 2018, Working Forest Week in Florida. Whereas Florida's forest and forest-related industries are vital for today's living and tomorrow's needs and cover 17.1 million acres, which represents nearly half of Florida's total land area. And whereas Florida's working forests help protect valuable natural areas from the threat of conversion to uses such as residential or commercial development and provide numerous environmental and ecosystem benefits such as improved air quality and improved wildlife habitat. And whereas the presence of healthy, sustainable forests is vital for the protection and conservation of Florida's water resources, and whereas Florida's working forest provides societal benefits such as plentiful spaces for beauty and recreation, and whereas Florida's working forests are carefully and professionally managed to provide timber products while sustaining and protecting renewable forest resources for future generations, and whereas Florida's working forests generate more than $25 billion in economic activity annually, provide jobs for 124,000 Floridians, and provide materials for more than 5,000 types of consumer goods. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners, Suwannee County, do hereby designate the week of October 21st through the 27th, 2018, as Working Forest Week in Suwannee County, and congratulate forest owners and forestry practitioners who grow, harvest, and replant healthy trees in order to protect and maintain Florida's working forests for the present and future generations, passed, adopted, and approved on the 16th day of October, 2018. Thank you so very much for this resolution. It's very important to the state, and also it's very important to Suwannee County in general. On behalf of the Governor and Cabinet, Commissioner Putnam, Florida Forest Director Carls, I want to thank the commissioners for their support by adopting this resolution. The Florida Forestry Association, in conjunction with the Florida Forest Service, have been working on a way to provide information to the public on the benefits forestry have in Florida and the contributions to the economy, employment, and enjoyment to all the people of Florida. Suwannee County is very unique in this respect. Suwannee County has the most private non-industrial forest landowners than any other county in Florida. You could say that Suwannee County is the heart of forestry. There are millions of acres, as we said, 17 million acres of forest, but Suwannee County, over the years, has stepped away from the pack. Number one, you all were instrumental in working with the Klausner Sawmill to come here to Suwannee County, which that chip and saw mill is incredibly important to the forest landowners here in Suwannee County. When we did a tour several months back, we were looking at the logging trucks coming in, and right now, on average, they have 100 to 150 trucks a day coming in, and that might have increased since our last visit. So without the commissioners and the support of the residents of Suwannee County, we could not achieve that goal. Another highlight is we are the pine straw capital of the world, of the Southeast, and of Florida. So the Suwannee Valley started this pine straw operation and took it to the height that it has now become. So again, thank you all for your help over the years, and all of the folks that were before us that started this. We really appreciate it. The state forests make up about 20% of the forest land in Florida. 71% of the forest ownership is private non-industrial forest landowners like the ones in Suwannee County. Again, 125,000 jobs are connected to forestry operations in general, $25 billion in economic impact, and those numbers are very, very outstanding when it comes to other agricultural products in Florida, and we're happy that forestry is such a good one. Also, the 5,000 types of consumer goods. It's amazing how many products come from forests other than dimensional lumber and pine straw. The paper products we know for sure, makeup, other types of cosmetics, clothing, the list goes on. 5,000 items, even toothpaste has some part of forest product in it. So with that in mind, I wanted to, again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the commissioners for this honor, and on behalf of the Governor and Cabinet, thank you for supporting this, and next week will be officially Florida Forest Week in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to
Make a
adopt the
motion, sir.
resolution? Got a motion by Commissioner Hale, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. Any discussion on it?
Simply say, I think one group that was missed out of this is the Division of Forestry that protects our woods, our forests, our places that when a fire gets started somewhere, there's a truck that shows up with a big old machine on it. It's a very expensive machine to get off of the truck, but we appreciate the willingness to be able to stand out there and keep it safe, keep our property safe.
Anyone else? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Did you want to get a picture?
Sure, that would be great.
All right, y'all want to?
Sure.
Appreciate you. Mr. Chair, if I could make one more comment?
Yes, sir.
That was an excellent point that you brought up about the Florida Division of Forestry, which we now call the Florida Forest Service, and based out of Live Oak, is part of the first responding teams that are dealing with the hurricane. Last year, Hurricane Irma. This year, of course, the devastating Hurricane Michael that affected the area up at Panama City. And again, we'll probably find that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres of timber was blown over, and it will be used as pulpwood because it was so ripped and torn apart. But the first responders that you mentioned, many have come from this county alone. You drive by the National Guard area, you see all the vehicles gone. Day in and day out, we drive by that area and we see all the vehicle and equipment that's back in there. And sometimes I'm wondering, God, I wonder if they start that and keep those all lubricated. And then sure enough, when something happens, they're there. So teams from all over Suwannee County, along with the Florida Forest Service, are out responding to this disaster. And I want to thank them also, and thank you, sir, for bringing that up. And we look forward to serving you for many, many years to come. Thank you again, and have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. We have an additional agenda item, but it's kind of a county attorney item, so I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Prevet present that under county attorney items, if
All
you're
right.
ready for it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, the reason I bring it up tonight instead of putting it off to another time is because it's a little bit time sensitive in that there's a response that needs to be made to another action. But what's happened here is we've got a request by Mr. John Skursky to have the county satisfy a lien that's upon a piece of property that he purchased. The lien is actually not against Mr. Skursky, but the judgment lien is against a Mr. Michael Howard DeMoss. Back in 2011, Mr. DeMoss was involved in an incident that resulted in a criminal conviction, and as a result, the county got a lien in amount of costs and fines and forfeitures, typically, like they do in each of the county cases, whether it be circuit or county cases. But what happened then is that Mr. DeMoss did not pay his taxes on the property that he owned, and the property went up for sale as a tax deed sale. The property was purchased by a group called Florida Tax Lien Assets 4 LLC, and they purchased it in October of last year. Well, after purchasing it at a tax deed sale, the property was then purchased a year later, in August of this year, by Mr. Skursky. Recently, as part of a tax deed process, you usually have to go through to be able to clear the title on the property. You do a quiet title action. Mr. Ralph Dees, representing Mr. Skursky, did file a tax quiet title action, but he also sought to clear the tax lien that the county had on there. Well, what makes this time sensitive is because Mr. Baker, on behalf of the county, was served with this lawsuit, and we have to file a response to this lawsuit by the beginning of next week. The lawsuit seeks to wipe out the county's lien as a result of this judgment. However, after having a discussion with Mr. Dees, he came around to my way of thinking and the correct way of thinking, that the lien typically cannot be wiped out in a quiet title action. So he shifted gears, and so he's asked if we would, because of the circumstances of his client, Mr. Skursky, who is not the one that didn't pay the taxes, who is not the one that actually bought it at tax deed, but bought it from this other entity that he now gets stuck with, these taxes on there. He's asking the board if they would reduce the interest that would be payable on the award. The award is only $943, but since it was done back in 2011, the amount of interest that is accumulated statutorily on there totals $386.14. So there's a total due of $1,329 and some change. What he's asking to do is if the board would consider knocking just the interest in half, so that in turn he would have to end up paying $1,136.07. Be a few more pennies as the days go until I get the monies paid, if y'all approve it. If y'all would consider knocking that interest in half and then allowing him to go ahead and satisfy the judgment, and then we would be dropped from the lawsuit that is presently pending. As these things are very, very rare coming before the board, it's very rare that we have an opportunity to address some of these things. And the board is under no obligation to be able to reduce it at all. However, I'll tell you that I have to respond to this lawsuit, and in response, I'll be filing a counter claim that will be foreclosing our lien in the action, and in a very short period of time, y'all will have paid me more than what the lien is worth, and time moving on. So my recommendation to y'all is cut everything short right now, don't pay me, and get the money from this guy and move forward. So that's my recommendation, is to approve it. And if you do approve it, there's two things I would like for you to do. One is make a motion to accept the offer that they've made of the amount of $943 plus 1/2 of the interest. And then secondly, after that, to make a motion to authorize the chairman to be able to sign the appropriate satisfaction of judgment whenever I do receive the funds. Two things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the attorney?
Only concern mine is, are we doing anything that's going to cause us to be weak in any other legal cases in the future where someone comes and tries to get a lien reduced?
Well, the last one we addressed with this was in 2014, and when it came before that particular board, it was a much larger sum that was done during that period of time. The guy asked to wipe out all the interest, and that particular board decided that they weren't going to do that. But again, because it wasn't really the gentleman's fault that purchased the property with it on it, they decided to collect only 1/2 of the interest at that time. I advised Mr. Dees of that previous situation, and so he's asking just to do that, not to, not take care of it. And the answer to the question, though, is no, it's not going to have any effect on anything good forward. Each case I'll have to bring to you on an individual basis.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, you said that we wasn't obligated, but sound like we are.
No, sir, you're not obligated to be able to, to accept a lesser amount. What happens in the lawsuit, then I'll file a counterclaim that we'll have to propose to foreclose our lien on the same piece of property that he's trying to clear title to. By going through the foreclosure process, I project that we would prevail by having the lien there and then foreclosing on the lien. Then we would have to go, after getting a foreclosure judgment, then we'd have to go through a foreclosure sale of the property. And at the foreclosure sale of the property, I provided along with the motion there that the piece of property was only assessed at $21,000, period, for value, so that at a foreclosure sale, we'll be going through the exercise to collect $1,300 and something on a $21,000 piece of property, and if nobody bid at the thing, at the sale, we'd be out not only the money that we have for the lien, because the property would then move on, we'd be out all the additional attorney's time and expense and
That's what I was getting
going
to.
forward with all of that.
That's the point I was getting to pay you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I'm recommending you don't pay me.
Okay.
I'm recommending that you cut this short, get the money, which is very rare for us to collect in these circumstances, to take the money and run.
Okay.
Any questions from you, sir?
Got it.
Y'all good?
I'm good. I move to, we do exactly what he said, since I've already forgotten everything that he said to do.
It'd be a motion to accept the offer and satisfy the
Move to
lien
accept the
judgment on
offer,
the
exactly.
DeMoss / Skursky property.
And give you authorization to sign whatever lease
I need
document.
two different
Two
motions.
motions.
Oh, two different motions.
So I got, your first motion is accept the offer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Fleming. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Second motion would be to authorize chairman's signature.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, moving on to staff reports. Mr. Harris, you have anything for us?
Anything that you don't already know? Fortunately, I get to share everything with you in every meeting under county administrator items,
Yeah.
but I'll be glad to run through some things real quick if you would like, and I'll try to be brief. First of all, I'm very thankful that that hurricane didn't come through here.
I am too.
I feel very bad for the people that it did affect out there, and in fact, now might be a good time to have a brief conversation about whether or not we want to participate in any efforts to assist our neighbors over there. I've spoken to the chairman a couple of times about it. I have participated in this type of thing before. It can be very cumbersome unless someone in that immediate area has established some sense of order and is orchestrating what's actually going on, so that if you send manpower out there or equipment, they've got a destination that they're going to, and they know what they need to do when they get there, rather than just wandering around. So if the board wants to consider that later in the meeting, we can do that. Give us some direction on that if you want to participate. I know the chairman communicated with state officials on our interest in trying to help out if we thought we could, if they would get some information back to us, and we just don't have anything clear-cut yet, but we may sometime in the near future. I've spoken to Mr. Kaysen about the intersection of 51 and 250. He's actually out there in the Panhandle with a crew working right now. I told him that time was really pressing down on him. It wasn't going to hurt us, but it was going to hurt him. I communicated to him that the anticipation of the board is that they finish, that the intersection improvements be completed before that new store opens out there on 51. He asked for us to not require that. I told him that that's been anticipated from the beginning. That was part of the discussions in the public hearing, and it needs to be done because of the increased volume out there at that intersection. It just becomes more dangerous than it already has been with that new store going in. I suggested to him that if he stays out there and continues with the cleanup efforts, that's fine, but he best figure out how to use some method of communication and get with his people back here that can handle that intersection for him and make decisions. Right now, we are all waiting for DOT to make a final decision on whether or not to require milling of a portion of 51 associated with the intersection. And we don't know any more right now because DOT was shut down because of the storm as well. Moving on to County Road 49, the improvements to County Road 49 and the improvements to Padlock Road or 122nd. We just got word back that we have authorization to bid those. We can bring back those items on another agenda, or the board can consider approving those tonight as just an authorization to go ahead and bid that DOT just gave us as well. At one time, they didn't have to sign off on these, but they do have had that requirement for the last few years. And we just obtained that Friday, so that's why it wasn't on this agenda already. 136A and Hughes Road, 129th, was on the agenda for the task orders for engineering. We'll be moving forward on those, so when that's completed, we'll be ready to bid those as well. The rail spur project is behind schedule, but it is moving along quite well. I believe the track company will be back in here putting tracks down very soon. The contractor has completed most of their work on it, the excavation and the drainage and other things. I did ask Mr. Bailey to go ahead and put a quote together for us on putting sod on those slopes, because I think that otherwise we're going to be dealing with erosion later. So he'll be coming back with a number on that, and I'll probably bring that back to the board as a change order. We did sod the slope on the CSX main line, and it needed it, and it's going to need it on the rest of that track turning north, going back up the north end. We're still waiting. I'll just tell you that the most recent information that I've received from CSX is that it'll be several months before they complete their engineering for the crossing that has to be built, because we had to close the old one down for this rail spur. I believe it's going to be probably 8 months, maybe a year before CSX completes all the work in there right away, because they have to build that new crossing themselves. I'll be bringing back task orders for other improvements that we're going to need to do. I've also spoken to the CDBG grant administrator. One I'd mentioned earlier, the requesting that we be allowed to use the balance of the funding left over from the spur to construct that probably $800,000 to $1 million crossing that's going to have to be built. But there's a second crossing, a secondary crossing, that'll be on the west side of Flossner. And that's because in order to use the $1 million, we have to have a connection back to Flossner from that new crossing. We knew that we needed to build 175th. We're going to have to do an improvement on 50th. When you get to the north end on 175th, you've got to turn to the right or the east to get back to Flossner. It's a very short distance. We're going to have to build that road and put a small crossing there. But that's a small price to pay for what we're receiving in return on that $1 million they're allowing us to use to build the big crossing coming off of 90 to get onto 175th. So I'll give you updates on that later as it progresses. I also made a request of CDBG for an extension of time because we were going to run out of time. I think it was in December. I've asked for a one-year extension on the timeline on the CDBG funding that'll take us to the end of next year, if it takes that long to get that crossing constructed.
I think that might have been, was that the letter I had earlier? Did they approve that? I had a letter about an approval of an extension, but after I looked at it, I
That may be the, was that the housing extension? That was the
Okay,
housing
okay.
extension. The other one, I made a phone call. I just called the grant administrator and discussed it with him. He didn't have a problem with it. In fact, he's another one that's been impacted by the storm. He had a house out there that's been destroyed with everything else.
Yeah, no, now that you say that, I remember at the bottom it said it CC'd Fred Fox, and he was the one that did the housing. Okay.
Similar request, though. This
Yeah.
is for the rail. In your packet tonight, you notice that we had the one response on the financial consultant for the MSBU's. I was glad that PFM responded, probably the largest in the state. You see them at all of your FAC meetings, vendors. Tremendous company, tremendous manpower I mean, we're not going to be lacking their attention when it comes to our project. And they've done a lot of these things for many, many years. So that's exciting news, and I'll be working with them The agenda item was authorization to go ahead and put together an agreement. Mr. Pravat and I will put that together, bring it back on the next agenda, and hopefully we can get them started very soon. The consent agenda also had 164th Street Bridge. I just wanted to, for the public's benefit, it says this in the agenda item, but I wanted to explain that we had requested that the board reject the bids for the remediation work that has to occur on that bridge. Those numbers far exceeded anything that we had budgeted, and instead the item after that was to allow us to bid individual items. I anticipate bidding some items like grouting, and then the county will need to self-perform the balance of that remediation so that we can keep it within budget. So we'll have a full plate this year. The road department will, taking care of chip seal roads and the erosion and drainage and sinkholes out at the Catalyst site, and taking care of this bridge as well. But we can get it done.
The remainder of the chip seal roads that we awarded a couple meetings ago, do you know when their show-up date will be?
They're showing up, I think they're coming in this week and start doing the sealing.
Okay.
And they'll be right in sometime shortly thereafter and start putting the chip seal down.
Gotcha.
I wanted to make one other mention of something. I talked about the hurricane and how thankful I was that it went in the other direction. But like some of you commissioners and others perhaps in attendance, I know Mr. Baker and Mark and lots of others that are here. I attended several meetings over at the EOC, and this is typical when we have storm events. We start monitoring those very closely early on. In fact, Mr. Stapleton was there as well. I remember seeing him there. And then we continue that right on through the event. We meet sometimes, every 4 or 5 hours. We start in the morning, we'll have another meeting at 11, and then later in the evening. And there's just a lot of activity coming and going, and it's definitely a disruption to everyone's routine schedules and the work and commitments that they have and things that they're trying to accomplish. But one thing I was really impressed with was that the local churches provided food at the EOC for all of those people that were coming and going and trying to make things happen and trying to stay on top of what was going on. And I really appreciated that. In fact, I spoke to Sharon today and asked her to send me a list of those churches that had participated in that so that we could send them a nice letter and tell them how much we appreciate it. But I wanted to mention that. I wish I knew the names of all of them now. I know the names of some of them, but I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm not going to take that risk. But we'll put a nice letter together, and I'll try to get with each of you to sign that as well when that time comes. And that's all I had for you, unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
I just agree with the food part. Unlike some other commissioners, I didn't sample all the food, but what I did have was good. Yeah.
You ran on being honest. I don't know if that was an accurate statement.
I didn't get a chance to try all the soups that were there, but some of the soups were amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
You spoke earlier, you said you said do it later. That would be about helping in the panhandle, about doing something in the panhandle.
Well, if the board wants to address that later as an additional item, we can do that. We have the ability to go and help those people if the board wants to. And I'm not sure what all of the assistance is, but I guarantee you right now, they're making appeals for any type of assistance. I've gotten several emails. The important thing to me is that it's organized. If we're going to go, I want to know where we're going to go specifically, that we've got a point of contact, we know what's there when we get there, and so that we can come up with our own game plan on, how long we can have people there and get them back here.
Mr. Chairman, I want to say something.
Yes, sir.
I did speak with Chris Doolin, and he told me the devastation that was out there is terrible. And some commissioners that I think all of us know personally were very, very well affected by that storm. Cheryl Sanders, Miss Cheryl, she lost everything that she had. She's not the only one, but especially the commissioners that we know in that area. So I would support the efforts if the county could do something to help the situation.
Yeah, if y'all want to go ahead and discuss it, we can discuss it now. Me and Mr. Harris have talked about it a little bit all this week, and I don't know what they need, but if we've got the ability to take a loader out there and send a couple people out there, and if we get a response from someone that they need it, and we know where they're going, and they've got a place to house them, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it either. I agree that if you have a concern about coordination and organization out there, that we make sure that we're putting them in a place that they can be used.
And I've talked to some others that are reaching out to some other counties to see if they have any equipment and manpower that they want to send. And another thing, we had mentioned that if they have equipment and no way to transport it, that we may provide some of the transportation for the equipment, since we have the truck and the trailer to get it there.
You want me to call Chris Doolin, or you want me to have him to give you a call?
We've got a lot of contacts that have emailed us. I probably haven't enough. I mean, if I need to, I can contact Chris, but we've got lots of communication and emails from any number of entities, the state and the counties, and I can contact them. The important thing is, like I said, and this is always the case, and I've seen this happen many, many times through the years. Even building contractors that pack up and head to these areas, they get there and they can't do anything. It's going to take several days for them to truly get organized. But when they get to a point where they have a game plan, they can say to us, we've carved out, this 2 or 3 or 5 miles. If y'all can go work on that, then that's a game plan that we can work with.
Well, I talked to one of the, not the commissioner, but I talked to one of the commissioners out there's son today, and he said it's not a couple roads here and there that have a tree down across it. He said every road in the county. He said you cut a tree, you go 2 feet, you cut another tree. You go 2 feet, you cut another tree. It's not like, we had a lot of trees down here, but they were down in sections and areas. He said down there it's every single road's affected, and they don't have the manpower, the machinery to get it moved and get it opened up. So, and he's supposed to be talking to his dad. They're in one of the hardest hit areas, and they're supposed to get back with us about possible assisting them.
All right. So we go for it.
I don't, anything?
In Marianna, Florida, they got hit pretty hard, but we have a sister warehouse, if you will, out there. They're not open for business, don't have power, but they are using that warehouse for staging things like this. People are coming and dropping off water, household goods, anything from towels to T-shirts to socks, things that people don't have, they're staging them there. And then when that time comes, they'll distribute it from there as the needs called upon. So I can get you in touch with those guys as well.
Sheriff, I think I overheard one of your deputies saying that y'all were putting some stuff together to take out there. Have y'all already taken it, or?
No, we did the Gaston County, we took generators, costs, water, MREs to them, like the next day, because I think what was happening, they was hitting the harsh areas first. And
Right.
Kind of, not neglecting them, but they got hit in those parts, we took that out there, I think, Thursday after the storm. Then we got drop off for it at the EOC, Brantford, Pond and Brantford, a lot of the police department and the Pregnancy Care Center. We've got on our Facebook page, we've got a list of items that they're requesting out there. So, and we're getting quite a few items. We haven't taken it yet, but we're as soon as we get a trail of go and take it out there. And there's one place I've talked to the state EOC and also Steve Casey with the Florida Sheriff Association. We put out word that this is what we're wanting to do, and they've got a warehouse that they're trying to rent out for either a drop-off point, and then we've talked to several churches out in Panama City that we're gonna make contact with. But like I say, we're getting on the donate items up to, as soon as we get a truckload, trailing with them all out that way.
And one more time, if anybody wants to donate, where did you say?
The Live EOC, Emergency Operations Center, Live Police Department, they're down in the south end at the Brantford Pond, and then the Pregnancy Care Center.
All right. Thanks, sir.
The Live Oak Pregnancy Care Center?
You just you don't need any action from the board, Mr. Harris, to do that, do you? Do you just need consensus of the board?
I've got a, consensus, I'll make it happen.
All right.
I'm good.
Good.
Anything else? I think we'll move on to general business. Item number 20, nominate,
Do you want to authorize us to go ahead and bid these 49 and 122nd? We just got the word on that Friday from DOT. That's why it wasn't on here. I just hate to postpone going ahead and getting the bid on these things. We've been waiting forever for these projects.
yeah, say that again now? You just,
DOT Friday gave us authorization to go to bid.
on
They've
49,
signed off on our plans on.
I got you.
County Road 49 and
Yeah.
Padlock Road or 122nd. If the board will authorize us to go ahead and go to bid, then we'll get that started rather than just
Yeah,
delaying
that's
it
fine.
for 2 weeks.
Motions.
two separate motions. So we'll do 49 first. So I have a motion to,
Second.
a motion by Commissioner Richardson to authorize to go out to bid on County Road 49, second by Commissioner Fleming. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What was the other road, Padlock?
122nd, Padlock
122nd.
Road.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming,
Second.
second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Now, is that it? You good? Now we're moving on to general business. Nominate one commissioner to serve on the Middle and Lower Suwannee and Withlacoochee River Task Force. I asked Mr. Hill if he'd be willing to sit on that and stir the pot, so to speak, and he said he would be, so.
No pun intended.
No pun. No pun was intended. But he said he's willing to do that, so I appreciate it, and they didn't ask for an alternate, but if you can't make it, I'll
Okay.
be willing to step up and go in your stead. Item 21,
I want to bring that back.
we're going to bring that back to our next board meeting for discussion. We're going to discuss with possible, no, item 22, discuss with possible board action, Slayman Development Letter. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have a copy of a letter in here from a developer, Mr. Slayman. And for the benefit of the public, let me just read this real quick, Mr. Chairman. It's come to the attention of the property owners adjoining the soccer complex on 72nd Terrace that the parcel is needed for future economic development opportunities in the community. They want to develop the property that's contiguous with it and from north to south off of 72nd Terrace, and they need that piece of property as well. Specifically, the adjoining owner would like to repay the grant that was acquired for the soccer fields and would in turn propose to assist in the development of a park in the southern portion of the county. The developer will be requesting sewer and water service to this location, would like to work with the county to assist in bringing this new development to our community. Now, I've spoken with representatives of the company, and there are a number of things that would need to occur. I've spoken to Mr. Meeks about this as well. It would require a comprehensive land use change, and possibly some zoning changes as well. But I've mentioned to a couple of commissioners already that if this development occurs, it moves us one step closer to a relationship with the city of Live Oak on utilities. You know, we had our workshop back sometime. We were discussing theories at the time on what needed to occur or what could occur if we had a customer that did not want to annex into the city. Now we have one. They have already been to the city and had some conversation. What was communicated back to me was that they're willing to work with the county on this. So if the board agrees conceptually with this, Mr. Pravat and I would have to start putting a developers agreement together on the property and kind of elaborate on some of the terms associated with that and the potential development or assistance with that park down in the south end. I think everyone knows, but I'll just make the statement publicly, no one uses the soccer field. And I think everyone's known that for years. But in any event, if we have development there and it helps address some of the housing deficiency that we have in the county that we spoke of recently, then I think that's a good thing. So what I would ask at this time, if the board has an interest, would be that you authorize us to go ahead and put together a developer's agreement that speaks to these issues. And then it's still a long, drawn-out process. We'd have to bring that agreement back. There's the comp plan amendment that would have to be undertaken, and just a number of other things. If you agree to this, I'd ask that you also authorize Mr. Brabant and I to begin discussions with the city on the utilities issue.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Am I understanding this correctly? That the landowner next to the soccer complex wants to repay a grant that was given to purchase the land and develop it for soccer complex?
No,
right?
the land,
I'm missing.
the land was, correct me if I'm wrong, donated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Land was donated.
Donated.
The grant was for the development of the soccer
That's
field.
what I meant.
It was $130,000 or $135,000.
And someone's going to pay that back to whom?
We would have to go to the state.
State of Florida, that's what I figured that's what got it. All right, now, the second question has to do with, he mentioned the southern portion of the county, which always perks my interest right there off the bat, but I just want to know what he's.
Louisville.
Louisville.
That's, that's
Southern.
not fair. That's
southern.
sort of like the southeast, southwestern part of the
Southern.
county.
We actually have the property. The property's in place,
I know what you're talking
and
about.
it's cleared, and it just needs the improvements now.
I was wondering why I hadn't heard about it.
Heard about what?
I have a question. Just,
Yes, sir.
is it a common practice to do something like this and to send the money back to the state? Is that going to hurt us in any future grant applications or?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just one of, it's among many other terms and conditions. If it doesn't stay there in perpetuity, then you just have to pay it back, and that happens from time to time.
Maybe Mr. Scott can help with that, too?
My question is, does it have to be paid back, or can it be transferred to a different area for the same purpose that was fulfilling?
If we take the elements we made improvements on that dirt and shift them to another facility and make improvements similar to that, that's all we have to do.
That's all we have to do.
The soccer
We-
field,
Right. But we have to,
lift it.
also picnicking was part of that too. So we could take an existing facility the county has and make some improvements.
So my question is,
But we don't have to show the dollars that we're spending, we just have to provide the facilities.
we have a soccer field that no one uses. The question is, why do we have a soccer field? Why would we want to put another soccer field in that maybe no one's going to use? We use it in similar fashion in another field.
The reason it's not used is because of the type of soils that are there. We have some safety issues, and we also have some quality of soils issues.
I was going to say, it's not used because we really haven't promoted the use of it.
Right.
I mean, we keep the gates locked on it. Been some safety issues and some liability concerns from what I've been able to put together.
Right.
Sort of just sitting.
Soccer's probably one of our most popular
Right.
activities.
Okay.
And if we could, I would say we're outgrowing the center you have. And if you
Right.
could have, if you did have a place you could use, it would improve it. It's just, that was not one of the places you wanted to send a lot of people to.
Right.
I think the Litterville property too, also, there are opportunities there for some playground equipment, some
Right.
other things that are lacking that far
That's
away
what I was-
from the population center.
Right.
I was wondering if does it have to be the same type of field, or is it just similar purpose?
We have to use the elements that we said we're going to use. We added some extra elements in. We did not get fully funded for that grant. So the elements we improved upon were picnicking and a soccer field and parking. So as long as you do parking, do some picnicking, which could be a picnic table, and make a soccer area.
Or improve on what you already have, a soccer area, could you use it for that?
Where?
At your soccer field now, could you use it there?
Well, the soccer field we have now is the only soccer field we got is the complex.
Right.
Sportsplex. And,
It's really a baseball
No
field.
improvements there that could be used, is what I'm saying.
right. Not really. I mean, we just don't have the space to,
Okay,
I mean, you can stick up goals,
right,
and we do that during soccer season,
right.
But I don't think I could swing that through the process.
Yeah, you really don't have anywhere there to permanently
Right.
put a soccer field, because the only space, the green space you have that you could is either a baseball field half the year or it's parking lot.
Right.
When we go south, we can put those goalposts back up, but we can also do other things on that same ground.
Right. And what we usually, when we do facilities, we try to do multiple use anyway.
Right.
So we could do it very inexpensively, and we would not have to, probably wouldn't have to send any money back to Tallahassee. We could use it internally. So just reinvest.
They just have to sign off on it.
Right. Yeah, I've talked to DEP several times about the process and such, and until y'all give us the nod to move forward with basically we have to develop a plan of how we're going to shuffle the property or the elements to another piece of property. As long as you have control of that property, we're good to go.
How far out is it?
How far?
Louisville?
Louisville, how far is the property in Louisville?
It's about probably 2 miles from the river.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mile and a half,
probably right.
mile and a half north of the caution lot at 180th Louisville store.
I don't know if I mentioned it or not early on, that at one time I think we did, when we have our staff retreats and we try to identify areas of need, and that was one of the areas we identified. So it fits right into what our longer-term plans are, so this gives us a better way to get there faster.
How much acreage is it?
Total, we have, what, 22 acres?
I believe so, right?
But as of now, we don't need 22 acres.
Right. And, we may see, there may be a quadrant that we want to use for a fire station or a kick the can facility or whatever is the new thing we need to do, internet facility, we don't know 20 years from now what we're going to need.
Right.
But we may not need that space in that location all for park space, but we will develop as we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yes, sir.
As far as the developer, is he looking to purchase land from the county? Or would those funds, since it was donated property, would those funds go back to the original landowner? I guess it's.
Those funds are not going toward the land, they're going toward the grant improvements.
Yes, but as for if he is needing the additional acreage, I was just assuming that he would be purchasing the property either from the county or would it be coming from?
Who owns the county? Who owns the property?
Well, we'll just have to discuss that. I'll work on that with Mr. Pravat and bring the proposal back. These are very preliminary discussions right now, so we haven't gotten into details on anything yet. The important thing that we knew we had to address, though, it was an absolute, the grant funding that was in place.
Whatever winds up in the developer's agreement will be what the board agrees on. But the bare minimum that has to be in there is the grant has to be paid back and the duplication of the services that that's currently provided out there, that was through the grant. So we know that's the bare minimum that has to be in there. And then whatever comes of the rest of it, whether it's a purchase or whatever the board deems it to be at that time. I guess that's correct, isn't it?
That's correct. Because it'll come back to the board.
Yeah, this is just to give Mr. Harrison, Mr. Pravat the go-ahead to start putting together a developer's agreement and bring us something back to consider.
Just curious, how many acres is it out there?
Soccer field?
Yeah, whatever that property
10?
is.
Is it 10 acres?
At most.
Well, 10 usable is 15 altogether.
10 usable? Is that what you said?
Some of it's down in that bottom, correct?
In the backside.
Oh, it goes all the way back over to the other road?
But,
It's
no, if you
It
look,
goes back.
it's sitting
Oh,
on,
it's
it's like a
further
plateau
Yeah.
that comes down.
Yeah,
I believe some of it comes down to the east, back to where they're developing,
okay,
into that low line area,
okay.
I believe.
What do you need us to do?
needs green light, give them,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Do y'all have any interest in moving forward with the discussion on this?
I say if we have a park that doesn't work, we figure out a way to have a park that does work, and this is the way to do it, then let's do it.
And, I mean, don't take out the element too now, that we're looking at development and housing, so I mean,
Well,
that's a big part of it as well.
I do understand that. I think that's the catalyst that allows us to be able to do this. So
Yes,
Right.
yes. I'm fine with it. You need a motion or just consensus of the board?
Go ahead and vote to authorize us to get this underway.
I move to
Second.
do
What's,
that.
what's your motion? To,
Authorization.
Authorization to, you have
Put
to ask me to
together a
articulate this.
development agreement. Yeah, put,
I don't know how to
allow us
spell
to
there.
put together the
Also-
development agreement.
Yes, for that.
And also authorize us to begin dealing with the city regarding utilities.
Just exactly like he put it.
all right, I got a motion by Commissioner Richardson.
And I second.
Still got a second by
Still
Mr.
got a
Fleming. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Item 23. We're going to pull that, bring that back to the November, first meeting in November as well. Item 24 is discuss possible board action, any issues associated with the water or wastewater plant, I-75 and 136. You got anything new, Mr. Harris?
We're just forging ahead with that. Lots of things underway.
All right. Additional agenda items, we took care of all them. We don't have anything else, correct?
No, but Mr. Chairman, I do want to mention something on water and sewer, not that interchange. I spoke to Mr. Bailey about this already. I've been receiving some emails from DEP and others about potential funding for more water and sewer. And I just want to let the board know that I'm going to be considering coming back and saying, hey, how would you like to, we know we've got a need to the north of I-10. Does anyone not agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
had applied previously, that was one of the project areas that we had listed.
So we've already listed it as our,
You authorized
One of our-
us to do this before, but when I begin this process again, I'll go ahead and remind you right now on the record, I had the authorization then, I want to continue if I have another source of funding or an opportunity to apply for a grant, I'd like to do that without having to come back to the board.
that's what I was fixing to say. The sites that we've already approved, which was, I think sewer at 10, I mean, the sewer at 10 and 90.
Water and sewer at somewhere north of 129, north of I-10 on 129.
129.
Between there and the river.
And then we had
Water
requested
main at.
main
uh,
and sewer at 10 and
And 90.
90. I don't think you need to come back to us if opportunities come available
Okay.
to apply for. I mean, we have to approve the final,
I'd have to bring a
Except-
task
yeah,
order back
task order
later
back.
if we get close enough, but that's what we're working on. 'Cause
Yeah.
We've got some deadlines in those things.
I'm fine with that if y'all are.
Good with it.
You want that in a motion, or you think, is it good on the consensus?
No, I'm fine with that,
All right.
as
Any-
long as Eric records it.
He did, and the attorney said we're good. All right, moving on to item 26, public concerns, comments. Anyone wishing to speak, they would step to the podium, name, address for the record. Hearing none. Administrator comments, I think you got that covered already.
I just want to say to anyone that I left out when I mentioned all those that were at EOC, I apologize. I saw Vicky here. Vicky was there that night, and the sheriff and some of his other staff. But I appreciate everyone that participated in that. Everyone was ready to go if it came here. That's all I had.
Yeah, I don't know if you didn't mention it, but Sheriff had new staff out there this go around with Miss Robin. And Kim, in the years past, has always run the show. And she's no longer with us, so it
Sharon
was
did a
Sharon's, and she did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Sharon did a great job
So
out
just
there.
like for you to relay that to them, next time you talk to them, that they did a great job. It went off as smooth as it could go off, and
I'll let them know, and then like I say, they're continuing to, like I say, still in contact with the state EOC and let them know anything that they need, we can, just like they just want to do with the road department, we're doing the same, anything that we can do, they're continuing to make contacts, so I'll let them know.
thanks, sir. All right, board members' requests and comments. Mr. Richardson, you got anything?
I'll just simply say that I wore pink today because I'm in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This past Sunday, our church got together and dressed in a lot of pink in that church. We had a lady in our church who just who had a double mastectomy and was really scared about the whole process, and she just got cleared this past week, completely cancer-free. And I know there's a lot of ladies out there, there's a lot of people out there who deal with cancer, and this particular issue is a big one. I salute you all, the survivors and those who didn't survive, for the fight, because it brings the awareness out. It's something that we need to take care of. We need to figure out a way to get a cure for it. So thank you, ladies.
Mr. Fleming?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you tonight and Mr. Harris and the board members for us moving on about helping the people like the Panhandle. I would say that it's just devastating. I attended a meeting over in Columbia County this morning, and the numbers are actually not true that we've been hearing. Those numbers are a whole lot higher. And for some reason, they were not telling the truth about fatalities. And I appreciate this board for moving forward, stepping up to the plate, help our neighbors. I know when last year when Irma come through and we were without power for 4 nights, that was rough. And I can imagine some of these people probably never get back in their homes. Some of the loved ones would never be found. I can say from a person's standpoint, my son lived in Albany, Georgia, and the eye of that storm went right over top of his house. And I was worried about my grandkids, and I went and picked them up. And we kept them till yesterday, and the power was restored Sunday night. And he told me this. He said, because I called him and told him, get out from up there before the roads get jammed, which he did not do. And I told him, I said, I'm concerned about you, but them grandchildren. And I couldn't stand it. We went and picked him up. And he told me this, he'll never stay in that type of weather. He said, Daddy, you'll never have to tell me that anymore. He said, I was stupid enough to go outside with my cell phone trying to take pictures. He said, that'll never happen. When they say get out, I'm getting out. So I feel better that we're going to try to go out and help these people. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Hill?
I just want to echo what everybody's already said. A couple of years ago, before I got into being a county commissioner, the public and the community, I don't think, recognize what goes into when the EOC gets together and all the different department heads, agencies, divisions, state forestry, National Guard, et cetera. It's overwhelming sometimes to sit there in a room, and see all the different people there and the interest they take in our community. And then also our community, after the fact, reaching out to us and to other people wanting to know what they can do to help. So we're very fortunate. I'm glad nothing happened to our community, but definitely keep the guys out west in our prayers. And again, hats off to the EOC and what you guys do. So appreciate it.
All right. Other than echoing what y'all have had to say, I don't have anything for tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I apologize, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't comment on Commissioner Sessions' service on this board. I almost forgot, and I apologize for that. But, we have the unique experience of receiving new commissioners from time to time and helping them to understand that which maybe they don't already understand, trying to answer questions, trying to work with them on projects in their districts, answering questions for their constituents and meeting with their constituents from time to time. I just want to say that it was truly a pleasure working with Commissioner Sessions. I think early on he realized that we're running a business, and he approached it like a business. And I know that commissioners have pressure to drag the politics into the county commission business and affect all these departments. And I appreciate that he never did that. He approached it like a business. He came in here and worked as a member of a board of directors over a large corporation, and he worked extremely well with our staff. Anytime we needed his assistance, he was willing to come meet with us. Some of you know he was very interested in fire rescue, did a great job participating in the decisions that had to be made there. But I really appreciate his service on the board, and we'll miss him. He was a tremendous impact on what occurred over the last 4 years in his district.
We got him for one more, don't we?
One more.
One more month.
Yeah.
One more
I didn't
meeting.
know that he was going to be back.
I think, do what?
One more meeting.
Yeah. Unless, I
No,
think the only reason he's out tonight, well, I know is just his wife's surgery. But I think we got him for the first meeting in November. So.
Well, if
You're making me think now, I'm like,
could be.
I think
He's
so.
got one or two more.
We'll drag him back then.
We got him for one more. Hopefully you'll be able to tell him in person.
We'll be able to unveil the bronze out front of,
Has that came in yet?
they didn't hear yet, but
Okay.
it will be.
Okay.
We'll do that when it gets here.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing I
Yes,
didn't
sir.
mention. Our employees, the county employees, we had a little mishap this afternoon, and it was either right before or just after everyone was going home. It was a situation that needs some attention. Mr. Harris made a phone call. Those people went out there and took care of it, no problem. I mean, it's amazing the people we have working for us sometimes and what they do, so appreciate them.
All right. When you said employees, one thing I do want to add is, it's county employee, but it's nothing to do with county business. And I know I've seen a lot of y'all there. Cog Skinner every year does a old-fashioned cane grind, and it's the first time I went to it. But every year, he reaches out to anybody and everybody that wants to go to it, and he puts on a fantastic day of old-fashioned cane grinding, and I enjoyed it. And for those of y'all that went, you know what I'm talking about. And so just hats off to him for reaching out to the community and doing that. He does it every year, and it was really nice, and I was impressed. So I'll tell him when I see him, but I felt like I needed to mention it here. So other than that, if nobody else has anything, we just need a motion to adjourn. Second. Thank y'all.